when you are waiting for a girl to give you the shot, that is the wrong attitude. When you are living your life of abundance, they just give you a shot because you didn't even notice. It is so crazy the way that works. What I've said before, this is also very confusing to a lot of pickup or red pill guys, is 85% of the women I date are girls that I'm friends with. And they're like, oh, no, but they are the same. There was a song, Can We Still Be Friends? Yes, the answer is yes. There's really no difference. There's another thing that I think a lot of people are confused by, and this is this idea. Women often don't like someone and sleep with them. Whether or not she likes you and whether or not she sleeps with you have nothing to do with each other. Women often very much adore a man that she will not sleep with. Women very often do not like a guy that she does sleep with. Those things have nothing to do with each other. So what we've gotten is this point where if we're friends, then we're not sleeping together, and that isn't the case. So that's the part that's kind of confusing. For most men, what happens though, if any one of these ladies, if they tried to be friends with them, all of a sudden they'd start catching feelings. The guys would, because they have scarcity in their life. Most men have scarcity. As I sent you those
scarcity mindset.
I sent you those clips before. 33% of men between the ages of 18 and 30 have zero sexual partners, and women find 80% of men on dating apps to be unattractive. So most men have no abundance. With no abundance, if you try to be friends with these ladies, you would become like, oh, you'd start having feelings. And then what would happen is you're starting to use your friendship to sort of manipulate your way into being like the backup guy that maybe she has sex with after she breaks up with someone. The girl that I'm seeing now, when she started seeing me and she started telling her guy friends that she was seeing me, that they all of a sudden started giving her proclamations of love and started saying how angry they were because they were waiting for their turn. They were not genuinely friends with her, right? She's very young. She did not understand that. And so that's the issue that happens. Correct. Rolo and I agree. Most men cannot do what I do, where I go to the Playboy Mansion, I know 100 girls, and I might have dated 8 of them, right? But that's the thing. When Fosh and I were in Jamaica, there were 150 girls there. The likelihood of me trying to hook up with all those girls, it's ridiculous. It's absurd. Of course not. But I can be attracted to them. And then here's the other part where a lot of guys get lost. So for instance, because I used to manage a strip club, and because now I host the 2 biggest bikini competitions in the world, and because I also host the Babes in Toyland charity, which is the biggest influencer charity in Los Angeles, because of that, there's no possible way for me to get 150 girls to come to the Maxim party or Dan Bilzerian's party or something like that without having female friends. It's just not possible. And then the last thing I want to say is, fellas, if you're out there and you disagree with me, do this for a second. Find really attractive women that you know, friends with or not friends with or whatever. Ask them how they met the last 5 guys that they went out with. And the answer is always going to be, it's going to go like this. A girl introduced me, a girl introduced me, a girl introduced me, a girl introduced me, a guy introduced me. Those will be the 5 answers. It's never going to be daytime, day game, cold approach at the mall. You will never hear that from the most attractive women. You will never fucking hear that answer, right? It might be slide in the DMs or whatever, but most of the really attractive women I know, they met the guys that they dated and they were connected in some way by another one of their female friends. So that's the other thing. And then also, I forgot to mention this, pre-selection. It's probably the most powerful thing that you can do as a man to be attractive without using money. The idea of pre-selection, or in psychology, it's called mate choice copying. That also comes from female friends. So there's just too many reasons to not, what's happened is these men try what I'm doing, but they're not ready for it. And so they get caught in their feelings. They start getting jealous because their female friends have boyfriends. And I never do that. I never go down that road.
Let me process what you said, and then I'm going to ask the ladies their thoughts on this. You said initially, the first thing you said is not a binary option, meaning where are you on the status totem pole for a man? If you're on the bottom third of the totem pole, dude, you haven't been laid in a year. You'll take anything you can get. But let's say you're at the top and you've got options, right? Because what's better than having options as a man? Yeah, all right, I'm friends with her, I'm friends with her, I'm friends with her, I'm friends with her, I'm friends with her. And the more options you have, the understanding, like you gave the example of 100 girls in the Bahamas, you're not going to sleep with all these girls. You have to be friends with them.
Yeah,
and friends with benefits, in a larger context, will lead to better scenarios for you.
Let me give a specific example for anyone who still has doubts. There's a girl named Masha Diduk, and previously it was a girl named Bianca Gezi who lives here in Florida, and they were the girls who found girls to come to Bilzerian's parties. They were friends with Dan. Masha has never had sex with Dan. Bilzerian never had sex with Dan Bilzerian and finds girls for Dan. This is what my female friends are the best wingmen I've ever met in my entire life. Yeah. If they see you as a high status man, women enjoy playing Cupid. They enjoy hooking their
Yeah.
friends up with other
That's
friends.
true.
Why not use that evolutionary adaptation to your benefit? Like when you really go down this path, it becomes so moronic, the idea that men and women can't be friends. When you come to the understanding, it's like putting a block of heroin in front of us. We're not heroin addicts, but if you put it in front of an heroin addict, they're going to go crazy. If we have enough abundance, we're not going to jump at everything we see. Most men don't have that. If you go to Fayetteville, North Carolina, I think Fort Bragg is out there or whatever, it's like 15 guys to every one girl. There's no being friends with women out there, right? That's a different scenario. But if you are a guy who manages, I'm sure you've owned some nightclubs, right? It's like you say you have 40 cocktail servers that work for you. What are you going to do?
No.
Like, wouldn't it be better
Abundance.
Wouldn't it be better to have one of those cocktail servers kind of put the other ones in line for you, like kind of be one of your like NCOs in your army? That's the way I look at it. They're teammates. They're like NCOs or lieutenants in the army. Does that make sense?
Yeah. When I go out, you know who I take with me?
Girls.
That girl over there.
Hey,
Me and
hey.
Nat, wing woman over there.
It's so true.
So, all right,
I
let's
agree.
open it up to the ladies. Brody, you work in nightlife. You're a very pretty girl. When you're hearing Michael say all this, are things going off in your head? Like, is
Totally.
anything resonating? Do you agree? Or you're like, no, I actually do have friends? How are you hearing
I
this?
actually completely agree with Michael, and we have something in common. I was also in the Air Force, but in Israel.
Okay.
And
Shout
trust
out
me,
to the
when-
IDF, by the
Shout
way.
out to the IDF. When I was training male soldiers, they would look at me like water in the middle of the desert.
Yes.
Like they could not. So from the female perspective, we're really guarded when it comes to friendships with men because we're afraid, oh, like he's just going to be nice to me now, and then eventually he'll flip on me. But that all changed for me when I moved to Miami, and I met tons of high value men who offered me friendship. Offered me friendship before anything else, and there's really nothing more attractive than someone who's like, don't worry, like there's no pressure here. You don't have to sleep with me. The only thing that I disagree with is the friends with benefits thing. Like for me personally, I think that the second that you introduce any kind of sexual contact into a friendship, there's no longer there's going to be
I
expectations.
totally agree with you with that part, but I'm speaking from the man standpoint. Men can be friends with benefits without getting caught up if they have. So some of those guys you were talking about, they're probably some of them are extremely wealthy or may have gone on dates with 4 or 7 women the same week. So when they say, yeah, do whatever you want. I legitimately had a girl ask me to go home with her one night, and I was leaving with these other 2 girls for a threesome, and I looked at her and I was like, you're having a great time. You should stay here, because it was one of these like, you're
I
awesome.
gotta go threesome to go 10
You're
too.
awesome.
I'll be right back.
You're awesome. You're not awesome enough for me to turn down this threesome, so I left. So like it is like that legitimate level of abundance. Of course, I was like, dude, let's just be friends right now. This is not the right time. Go have some fun.
Well, that's what I'm saying is
Yeah.
Miami, I mean, people in Miami are delusional, for lack of a better word, just because they're living in a little bubble.
Of course.
Where everyone who can live here, if you're a man, the only way that you can live here is by being high value.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're not going to be here.
What I love about Michael is that he says things in like a scientific level, but he also breaks it down into like, I'm about to go to have a threesome level. So like, there's like, you can kind of do things. But here's how I'm processing this. So let's say you have money. Let's say you're a millionaire, right? And someone's like, hey bro, you want to make $1,000? You're like, yeah, all right. Like you're not going to rush to go do it. But let's say you're broke. And someone says, hey bro, you want to go make $1,000? You're jumping on that opportunity regardless of what you have to go to. It's a scarcity mindset, or it's not even a mindset, it's literal scarcity, right? What do they say? Like when you're broke, you're poor. When you're poor, you do dumb things. Like you're willing to do whatever you need to do.
Yeah, for sure.
That's how you kind of end up in trouble. I totally understand that if you're at the top of the food chain, whether it's money, whether it's with women, whether it's friends with the status, access, you're not going to do anything out of the ordinary to completely
Brody,
shoot yourself in the foot.
Have you ever dated a dude who was kind of in the circle? You knew him for a while, and then later on started to see him? That's never
Well,
happened?
my first love,
Yeah.
my first boyfriend, before I moved to the States or anything like that, was my childhood friend. But I didn't really know him very well. I just grew up with him, and then I eventually.
But do you understand? I understand that also, but like working in a bar, have you ever seen a situation where people have been working with each other for a while and then they start dating after a while?
I've seen people work together and then start hooking up. But
Yeah,
not
so
dating.
so you understand what I'm saying, and I'm not saying it's not difficult. It is, but for some, especially for women, because they might catch emotions or whatever. But my point is, now when they're in the friend zone, you put them in the friend zone, and you keep going to these parties with 100 girls. Eventually, what happens is this girl who you've just known for a while. It's not that you didn't try to hit on her or you did. It's just you didn't have time. You go to the party with 143 girls. There's no way to do it, and then eventually you end up starting to date somebody that you didn't even know liked you or you liked them.
Yeah.
This is another thing. When you are waiting for a girl to give you the shot, that is the wrong attitude. When you are living your life of abundance, they just give you a shot because you didn't even notice. It is so crazy the way that works.